you haven't received any backlash, Junior?
Gee, I'm 6'5", bro. No one's gonna go after me, bro. When I was training that morning, I remember I was punching the bag and I wondered why I was training so hard to hurt people. Why am I feeling this way? Because I got a fight secured. That's money secured.
Please put your hands together for one of New Zealand's finest heavyweight boxing champions, Junior Fight!
While I was going through that, I'm questioning my religion, I'm questioning who I am, I'm questioning my sport. So those are my foundations as a person, you know. Those were very, very dark times. The beautiful thing is that it's a spectrum and that no two people on the spectrum are the same. And so autism looks different for everyone. This journey has been awesome because it just really changes your lens as a parent. Because now you have a lot of patience for everyone else now.
What are your philosophical views now? Mandate. Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tāmaki Makaurau at Papakura, and he was born and raised in Papakura in South Okilani. The man is a former New Zealand professional boxer, so he's had a stellar career as an amateur boxer and also as a professional. The man in 2009 was the New Zealand amateur boxing champion at the super heavyweight division. 2010, the man was a gold medalist at the Oceania Championships, and in the same year, in the Commonwealth Games, the man was a bronze medalist, and also in 2012 the man won silver at the Oceania Championships again. But also in his professional career, the man had 23 professional bouts, 20 wins and 3 losses. But the man is more than just a boxer. The man is an amazing husband, amazing father, and also has an amazing story to share. Please put your hands together for one of New Zealand's finest heavyweight boxing champions, Junior Fight!
What an introduction, bro. Holy heck. I could have used you for one of my walkouts, man. Holy heck. That hyped me up big time. Thank you for that.
Hey, Manu Lava Toko, hey, thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. I know obviously we can start off with the boxing, Junior, but we'll go left field because a lot has happened since the boxing and also the last fight in Riyadh. And so things have changed. You're supposed to have a fight this month, but you've obviously you can speak to it. You've retired from professional boxing. Other things have happened. Please tell us why the change and how has this come to be?
Whoa, straight in. All right. Things changed. Things changed dramatically. I think it was at the start of this year. I had a goal of staying consistent, and I was doing that. I was keeping up with my trainings. I was keeping active. I was doing all the things right, but I was training at home, and I was doing my runs. I was just doing it on the street, and I would do my boxing just at a local gym. But I couldn't take myself to my fight gym, and as time went on, I didn't know why I couldn't take myself to the fight gym, and it wasn't that I wasn't there. Like I popped in every now and then, and I was just trying to put something onto it. Maybe I thought it was anxiety, but I know how to get over anxiety. Action usually takes care of that. So I would take myself to the gym, and then I would think that those anxious feelings would go away, but it would come back. And during this time, I actually had a fight planned. Like you said, it was supposed to be this month. And as the time came closer for that fight, my coaches kept on texting me, asking me where I am, if I'm okay, what's wrong. And I couldn't really put anything onto it. I didn't know why I was feeling the way I felt. I thought it was anxiety, like I said before, but it wasn't. And so my manager reached out and he was like, hey, I know you're going through something right now. Let's just take it slow. Come and train with me just for one day and let's just call it a night. And I done that. Sweet, that felt cool. And then we prepped for sparring the next day. We made a day of it. I went to him. We had breakfast. I went to sparring. I sparred. I felt good. I performed well. I went back to his house. We went for a nice mountain bike session. We just made a day of it and it was brilliant. And that was awesome because he's really just trying to help me out. But something wasn't right because when so we sparred on Saturday, Sunday rested, Monday came, and those feelings were still there. Those feelings of I couldn't really explain the feeling. It was just heavy. It was heavy. I was unsure. I was questioning myself on. Oh well, I didn't actually know what the questions were until I was training that morning. When I was training that morning, I remember I was punching the bag. I was putting up a sweat, and I wondered why I was training so hard to hurt people. And that thought never really crossed my mind in the 20 years that I've been in the sport. And so I'm there, I'm just like, why am I feeling this way? And why am I going through this at this time? Because I got a fight secured. That's money secured. And I'm trying to figure things out. I just stopped training. I tried to go for a little run just to clear my thoughts, but that question kept on popping into my head. Why am I training to hurt people? I don't want to hurt people, which is strange from someone who's been on it for so long. But later on that night, I went back home, went to my wife, and just broke down and cried. And she comforted me, and that was when I pulled out of the fight. And at that time, that wasn't me pulling out of boxing. That was just me pulling out of the fight because I knew that at that stage I knew I wanted to box, but I just wasn't mentally, emotionally prepared for this fight, so I pulled out. As the weeks went on, I saw a psychotherapist, and I still see her to this day. She's really helped me through this journey. And that was thanks to my wife, because I saw one person before I saw the therapist that I'm seeing now. And the first person talked to me like a boxer, not a human being. I needed help, not Junior Father boxer. And so when I first saw the first one, I felt very I just felt unheard and really hurt by that, because I was like, oh man, if people just see me as a boxer, and and kind of offended in a way, because I've been on the sport so long and I've done so much work on my mentality, and the things that they were saying to me, I already know, but I don't need help in that area. I need help, as a person. And so I came out of that session. I felt really just really sad, really bad, quite upset. And my wife saw that, and so she booked me in with another person straight away. And I saw I saw her, the therapist, right now, and and it was great. I felt heard. I got a lot of stuff off my chest. She just listened. She gave advice here and there. And my wife's philosophy around there was that since I saw a man on the first one, that I should see an older woman, because they don't know who I am. They don't care about boxing, And so that was such a great call from her. So, and and then through the sessions, through those weeks, my views on life totally changed. So, I knew I didn't want to fight that fight, but then eventually I pulled out of boxing as a whole. And what this all stemmed from was from me leaving my religion, because that was the catalyst of everything. So when I left my religion, that fed into how I viewed everything else. I left my religion. I left religion as a whole because I saw harm in it. Because what I've always wanted to be since I was young, and I'm pretty sure, everyone wants this as well, is that I just want to be a good person. I just wanted to be a good person, and I saw the harm in religion, and I left that. And in doing so, I saw the harm in everything else, and I thought, oh, okay, that's not fair. But the religion that I grew up with didn't really didn't really teach me to really care about that. But now that I've left and I don't have anything to answer to, I can see that it's bad. which is the reason why I've turned into veganism, because I can see that the animals shouldn't be treated like that, and that we shouldn't need to really farm these animals just to die and just to feed us. And I know that there's better ways for us to live, like a more peaceful way to live. And so I left that. And that led into me seeing the harm in my sport. And I couldn't justify the means of me doing it anymore. Like, in terms of, I'm doing this to feed my family. There's better ways to feed your family. Just go and get a job. You don't have to try and hurt people. And so I really couldn't justify the means of doing it anymore. And the other ones before, when I was younger, was to, like, was to be the best at fighting. But I guess I lost that. I lost that egotistical side of myself, and I just kind of dropped everything, and I was like, I was just content with how I was feeling, because the way that I was feeling, even though I can quite clearly articulate it, it was very, very confusing and very, very dark at the moment. Because while I was going through that, I'm questioning my religion, I'm questioning who I am, I'm questioning my sport. So those are my foundations as a person, religion, boxer. And so those two broke down, and those were very, very dark times. And I knew that if I was going to, I knew that the only way through this was just to accept it and move on. You're not who you thought you were, or maybe you're not that anymore, because I thought I was this boxer. I'm not that anymore. Maybe it's best to just leave that behind and move on. Otherwise, you're going to be having this real tough spiritual battle within yourself, and you don't need that. And so I accepted it, and I let it go, and I retired from the sport. And I knew it was the right thing, because a massive weight fell off. I was more in line with myself. I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that I was more in line with myself, and I was super happy about that. I didn't have to look at anything else anymore. I didn't have to look up to God. I didn't have to really answer to anything except myself. And my goal is to be good. And that and I believe that and the choices that I've made, that I'm on the right path towards that. Yeah.
Toko, man, Toko. You mentioned dramatic change, absolute dramatic change, Jan Toko. Obviously, it's a given, which is very sad. People think, junior far boxer, they look at you and then the public figure, and that's all they know, just a boxer. You're absolutely right. You're more than just a boxer. And the changes, because you retired from professional boxing, you're vegan now, and you left your religion. And so when we were listening to this, and I said, man, there's going to be some people turning their heads like, well, what's going on here? And even quite controversial, Togo. People are like, what's going on here? What's happened? And maybe even to the point where people were thinking, man, this guy's out the gate now. And so you mentioned the psychotherapist. You mentioned you're quite philosophical now. Togo, and for you, in terms of spiritually, would you say this is like a spiritual awakening, Togo? Or was this like something that you just feel like, and you said, you're in the right place, right? You know this is where you need to be. So just describe for us in terms of your thought process now that you feel like you're on the right track, in terms of, is it a spiritual awakening, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. I'm, like I said before, I'm just more proud of being more in line with myself, because before, in my religion, I didn't have to do much thinking. They they lay out the rules and you follow it. And that's exactly what I was doing, I was like, okay, sweet, right, sweet, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And we and we just got to sit there, we just have to listen to what they say, and we just try to align ourselves with that. And so I didn't have to do much thinking growing up, even in boxing as well. I showed a bit of talent. My dad continued to take me to training. Sweet. That's just what I do. And so after leaving all that, I get to make decisions now. And now it's it's more of just what I feel aligns with me the most as a person. And as I said before, I just want to live in a way where I'm doing less harm as I can, and I'm trying to leave the world a better place for everyone, and not just me, and and not just for my family, but for everyone and the future generations, and also like just the harm in general, like the animals as well. Like we're all here and we're all sharing the planet. Let's just all try and live in harmony with everything here. Yeah.
Jeez.
Man, and I'm just thinking, because those are all such monumental changes to like one person, like really fundamental things that you've mentioned. How does that, and you've talked about the support from your wife with that journey, but I imagine that must have changes, like ripples throughout your family. Yeah, the family, like the way that your family lives now will be different in terms of some of those philosophies. And like how has that been for you in terms of it, getting the family on? Has it been a bit of a journey getting the family on board and having them, do they live by the same standards, or are they sort of the same as usual, and you've taken this journey just personally by yourself, or how does that work?
Well, me and my wife, we're on the same page of everything except veganism.
I was on the same page.
About the animals, bro.
I was like, man, that's a massive change. She's on board like that. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, Junior's like, come on, Junior, man. Come on, man. The book.
No. So, I told her, and that's just the way I live as well. I'm just like, I'm trying not to force anyone into doing what they don't want to do or what they're not ready to do. And so me and her left the church together. That was something that we done together, and it was quite a journey, that one. That one was quite a journey. And but in terms of veganism, that's just me. That's fine. I don't like just the same thoughts as what I shared before. And the same as but in terms of boxing, everyone's just in line with that. You can't, if you don't want to fight, then you shouldn't fight. It's so dangerous, man. This isn't just a job. This is this is a life on the line thing. So you can't just take it easy or try to convince someone to fight. It's man. The sport's too dangerous, especially at this level. The guy that I was going to fight was this big Russian guy, power puncher, loves a knockout. But it's a fight that I wanted when I wanted to fight, because me and him fought before. We fought in the amateurs, and we saw each other in Saudi Arabia. And he came up to me and he was like, "Hey," I won that fight. I was just like, "Hey, bro, I beat you that fight, bro." Because because we fought each other, I think in 2012, I think we fought. Big Russian guy, bro. I just knew to move and just jab and just keep moving, because power punches, they're good when you're standing in front of them, so you have to move. And that's exactly what I done, and I beat him. And we saw each other again, and I'm like, "Oh, let's fight again, bro." And then I'm quite lucky that kind of came through. But since my views changed, I'm just like, "Oh, sorry, bro." Sorry, bro. I'm out. But in terms of everything that's changed in my life, those that surround me, yeah, we're just all on board. We're all on the same page. Same as my mum and my family too. They're all supportive of my choices, and the same thing in her family as well. Like, her parents are very, very supportive of us, even though they are heavily involved in the church, and they are serving missions right now. But they're very, very supportive, and they know change is inevitable in life, and that's what we're going through, and they're supportive in that, so they're just there for love, and they're showing us love and we're showing them love, and it's all love, baby.
Oh, Doug, have you don't mind, Junior, just going back to obviously the philosophies, and obviously in terms of you being a boxer, religion, and then kind of like, okay, I'm leaving religion and so forth. What was it? What was the kind of the defining moment in terms of you kind of saying, I don't know, or questioning? Was there a questioning process where you felt like these things don't connect, or just doesn't add up, or was it just you just knew that this is not for me?
Nah, it's it was a journey. It was a journey, and it first came up long ago. So I remember when I was watching South Park. There's a Mormon episode. There's a Mormon episode on South Park, and at that stage, what I knew about it, what I knew about my religion was very concrete in my mind, and what they showed on South Park was almost right. And they showed a bit on South Park, and I was like, no. How I learned how the religion started wasn't like that. And when I then I done zero investigating through that, but then that popped up again, and I remember there was a conference not too long, well, maybe a few years ago, where our prophet started talking about how Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon, and he showed the hat and the rock as that's what they showed on South Park, but that's not what I was taught. And then like he was demonstrating how Joseph Smith done it. And since I was like a young man, and like yourself, when you're growing up in the church, Joseph Smith is our rock, and as young men you're showing so much, and everything's based on Joseph Smith. And we were never, and for myself, I was never showing that. I was never showing how I was never showing the seer stone. I was never showing the hat, and that was how he mostly done it. And so from that, I was just like, whoa, hold on. And then and for me that just never really sat right. And from there, I still didn't question the church, but I came to the conclusion, I was like, okay, I can't trust the church. I can't, if they can't be open, I can't really trust them. So I still kept going to church, and then me and my wife, even though we weren't really like communicating with our beliefs, we just we kept on going, but just kind of kept our thoughts to ourselves. And it wasn't until we had our third baby that what you do when your baby's born in the church is that you bless them, and like you fully make a day of it. You take them to church and you stand up on stage, and then there's like a mic like this, and you bless your baby in front of everyone. But my wife was like, our thoughts of our church changed, and then so she was like really hesitant about that, and I was worried about that too. And then we started digging deep into our religion, and there was a whole bunch that we didn't know, and that really set like a real untrusting tone into the church, but into everything, because like before I said, I really trusted my religion, but there was a lot of things that I wasn't taught, and I'm just questioning why wasn't I taught this? And so we went on a deep dive, and we found out this, we found out that, we found out this, we found out that, and then we chose to leave, but we left silently at first. And so at that stage, because this happened maybe a year ago, there was like a 3-month stage where I didn't do anything apart from just stay home and study, and just study my religion. I'm a Mormon, and the people who go against it, they're called ex-Mormon. And so I'm going back and forth between the two. You know, I'm just hearing what the ex-Mormons say, and then I'm lining up what the Mormons say, and they all line up correctly, but from different perspectives. One is faith promoting, and one is just trying to be completely open. And so they matched up, and that was basically when I thought, I was like, oh yeah, no, this isn't for me anymore. And so I left, and then I done the same with Christianity as well, and just spirituality as a whole, because what I felt in my church was really, really convicting. I really felt convicted in my beliefs, and then for that to be shattered, I was just like, oh, can I not trust my feelings anymore? And I started to dig deep into Christianity as well, because I'm just like, okay, one of the cornerstones of my religion is Jesus Christ, and is the Holy Ghost and just God in general. And it just made me question all the religions, and just made me look at the Christians are really convicted in their beliefs. The Mormons are really convicted in their beliefs. The Muslims are really convicted in their beliefs. Hindus are very convicted in their beliefs. And then I'm just questioning, but everyone's feeling the same thing, but they're all drawing it from, but they're all pointing to something different. And so I'm just, and so for me, I'm just like, I can't do that, because I really need to be comfortable in what can be, and what can be proven, because I thought I could trust myself and my feelings and my convictions, but they turned out to be true. They turned out to be false, because it was only emotion. But I'm speaking for myself, because I know religion helps a lot of people. But for me, I could only see the harm, because what I was taught in my religion, with different areas of it, was in terms of the people where religion is not for them, in terms of gay people, in terms of trans and people like that. I couldn't support an organization that was going against people that are here right now, and that we can see, over a God that we cannot see. And I know people have their convictions, but I'm just like, no. These people are here right now. I'm not gonna believe that they're gonna go and live their life, which isn't hurting anyone else. I can't go against that, because they're here right now and they're doing that. But I have a belief that if they do that, they're gonna go somewhere else. But if I'm being really honest with myself, that's only based on what I think, or what I feel, or what people have tried to convince me of. But no one knows. No one knows what happens when we die. You know, you can have a belief, you can have a strong belief, but what we know is that we're here right now, and that these people are here right now. If that's what they want to do, that's that's cool. I'm not going to be a part of an organization that's trying to stop people from being happy. If it's good happiness, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to have relationships with same-sex adults, not hurting anyone. And so I saw the harm in that, and that's what led me out of religion as a whole. And that was quite dark, because when you leave religion, when you leave your spiritual self, so to speak, you're left with nihilism. And that was quite dark. But that's very, very liberating, because, like I said before, I don't have anything else to answer to. So, and there's this whole debate on if you don't have something to answer to, or if you don't have God, or if you don't have a belief, then what's the point of being good? I was like, being good is its own reward. Being good is its own reward. You get to help people, and you help yourself, and for myself, I don't believe that people ever want to be bad. People don't really want to hurt each other. People don't really want to go around doing terrible things to each other. And even if they do so, there's always when you go back and you go back and you go back, there's there's always reasons. There's always reasons, and so yeah, no, I just went on a massive tangent, but
No, man.
but yeah, that was it.
Dogo, man. You know what's happening at Dogo? All the viewers and the listeners, they man. And I can imagine, and then which is sometimes very sad as well, Junior. Some people might be going, what's happened? What's happened with the Dogo? When obviously as Islanders and Māori, we're quite spiritual, and obviously there's a lot of this, denominations and Christians and Mormons, so all these different denominations, and they probably listen to this. But you know what's so cool, Junior, is that you say it with conviction and you say it without batting an eye. Because some people are like, oh, I don't think I can really share this, and you're not afraid to share what you're experiencing, but also what's happened to you thus far in terms of what's happening in terms of the spiritual, whatever, and leaving the religion. And I love that you're open. You're open about it, and you're open and honest about it. No one can knock you for that. Obviously, we're not knocking the Mormon Church. We're not knocking any other denomination or Christians. But your journey is your journey, hey, Togo? And I love the fact that you're open about it and you're having this talanoa with us. And so with the journey this far, what are your what are your philosophical views now? Because people think, okay, well, you've left that religion, you've done this and that, you've left boxing, but what are some of your philosophical views now, and what you're kind of brewing in terms of what you believe now? Obviously, to be a good person, but what are some of the things that you hold to now?
That's it. I just, like for me, I know leaving religion is a very, very dark journey, and I know that it's very uncomfortable for some, but it's super liberating. It's super liberating, and you don't turn into this evil person like for me, I turn into a more good person. I turned to veganism, and that's something that I was never told. I didn't get preached about the feelings of animals when I was in the religion. I didn't get told that we were not supposed to, kill these animals and stuff. And now that I'm out, and now that I can take these and just make these decisions for myself, it's very liberating. And yeah, like I said, it's just, like the goal for me is just to be a good person when I leave this planet. I just hope that my family knows that I love them, that people know that I love them, and that's it. They're like, for me, the ego has died, and I've got zero want or zero. Like I got nothing to look forward to in the next life in terms of like I don't put any stock into anything that can't be proven, because if I'm only doing things to be promised a space in heaven, then is that really good? Like I'm just being good to be good, and because I can see you guys, I can see you, I can see these people, I can see the animals, I can see everything here, and now that I'm experiencing it all, I'm just trying to make it good for everyone else, and I have zero stock into the next life or into what happens next, and whatever happens next is, it is what it is. But while I'm here, like I said before, I'm just trying to cause as less harm as I can. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, man, otoko. Man, what a... You're flipping things upside down, man. I don't think we've ever had this kind of open conversation around this. And
it's very different because I know, because us Polynesians, we come from a very, very, very like hard out spiritual background. You know what I mean? And our Christian roots going deep, bro. So I'm just thankful that I had a family who had similar views. More of like free thinkers, you know what I mean? Like, we just kind of, they never dragged me to church. They never dragged me to do anything. If anything, I was trying to drag them to church. And so, I'll just backtrack a bit. there was another point in our journey. See, my daughter just turned 8, and that's the age that you baptize in our church. And so we chose not to do that, and because of the same things. I didn't want her to go through the same things that I went through. I didn't want her to be converted to something that she wasn't unsure of because she's 8. And I'm just like, no, you're not going to do that. But in my head, I'm like, if she wants to join a religion later on, it'll be later on. It'll be when she can make these choices herself, not while I'm dragging her to church every Sunday, when she's getting fed this every Sunday, exactly the same thing that I went through. You know what I mean? And then your world kind of gets shaken up when you come to like different like realizations, and you see harm, and you see all this other stuff that I went through, and I didn't want her to go through that. And so for me, I'm just like, no, you're not going to go through church. I will teach you good morals at home. You can just make your observations by the real world that you see. You be good. Later on in life, if you choose to join your religion, you can choose that. That's fine. I'm just more comfortable that you do that in a when you're like when you're like, brain is better developed, and it's like less tangible, and it's not as easily influenced when you're an adult. So yeah, man. So like, that'll be later on. And that's just something that I had to share because of like, that was a really pivotal moment in our lives, because like, as you know, turning 8's a massive deal in our church. Like, you know what I mean? I still remember my 8th birthday and my baptism. It was such a cool thing. But when I'm thinking back, I'm like, man, I was a kid. I didn't know. Like, I'm just, oh man, I'm just like, but I didn't put any blame on anyone. You know what I mean? We're all just trying to be good. Parents thought that was the best thing for me. That was cool. But, no, I think that's the best for my daughter, and yeah, that's just what I'm going to do.
Man, you mentioned liberation. You feel liberated, Togo. And so, and it seems like a very simple message, Togo. Just live a good life, be a good person, nothing complicated. And so, in your own words, in terms of, do you feel like that, not just religion, but just in life in general, and the things in this world, in this day and age, things have become so complicated, and things have just been blown out of proportion. Things that people are just living this real fast-paced life, that they're kind of missing out on the true essence of just being a human and being a good person.
Yeah, like it can be really distorted, especially with social media. Social media and just the, and just our life at the moment. But I think everything has been the same since we, since life as humans began, or, since we started this type of living, everything's been the same. Like, what I'm going through isn't the first time anyone's gone through it. People have gone through this. People have been a teenager before, and they've felt that way before. But yeah, no, it's just, yeah, I do know everyone's just out there trying to be good, and whatever helps them achieve that, go with that. Yeah, I tell my little brother this. I tell him, whatever you do, or whatever which way you go, because I know he's very young, he's quite easily influenced, and so like, I'm just like, oh yeah, man, hey, whatever you do, like, don't let people tell you that's bad or that's good or that's bad. No. You got eyes, you got a brain, you can decide on that. And like, if it like holds up, then it, holds up and it's good. But in terms of life and, how I see it, I think like everyone's just on the same goal, trying to be good and try to, we got sports stars and stuff, and, everyone's just trying to capitalize on their talents, on the on the gifts that we're born with and stuff, and that's cool. And for me, it was boxing. Now it's not. Now I'm just journeying into something else, which I don't know. But I'm just looking forward to that journey, because that's that's a massive journey.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's cool. It seems like it's less about right versus wrong and more about what's right for you as an individual, and that what's right for you may not necessarily be what's right for other people, but your encouragement is about them finding what's right for them. So just really cool. And like Pete was saying, it's like really interesting. And I guess because I've sort of in that religion myself, and so it's really refreshing to hear someone's perspective. And I'm really grateful that you've been able to share it, authentically as yourself. Just thanks for sharing. One of the things I am curious about, the first part was, like, when you look back on it, if you had a choice, would you choose not to be baptized into the church?
No. I don't take anything back from my childhood. Everything happens for a reason. I had a very, very good childhood. I was raised in the church, and that was the best thing, man. That was the best thing. The only thing with that is in terms of like why baptize so young. It's so young at that age, 8 years old. 8 years old, you're apparently at 8 you are apparently accountable for your sins. That's an 8-year-old. I like in terms of that that's the only thing that I disagree with, but that's just the doctrine that I disagree with. But in terms of my life, nah, man, I wouldn't have it any other way, bro. Like, I had a massive 8-year-old birthday, bro. So that was cool as. I remember I got this remote control car for my 8th birthday, bro. So I loved it. And I got $50 from my auntie, so that was cool as, bro.
Would have taken you a long way back in the day compared to nowadays, eh?
Oh no, man! I got the $50 and then I showed it to my mom and then I never saw it again.
Family tax.
I hate these ones. It's always the case. Yeah. Get some money, and then give it to me. I'll keep your money for you, and then I'll save it in the piggy bank, and it's gone. Oh, bro.
Man, that's cool. And then just thinking about like the journey you've been on, and you sort of briefly mentioned what comes next. Like, is there sort of a bucket list of things that you're like, man, let's go out and try this, or like there's some things that you've got your eyes set on?
I don't know. Like when I first left the sport, I was like, okay, what else can I do? I'm young, I'm fit. All right, like let's become a cop, or let's become a fireman. I put my papers in, and I applied to become a policeman straight away. And as time has passed, I'm like, actually, do I want to become a policeman? Only because, for the first time in my life, I wanted to become a policeman because all I wanted to do was help. And so I put my name in, and they emailed me back. But when they emailed me back, that's when I kind of changed my views. I'm like, because I know the policemen, they enforce the law, or they get told to, do this and that. But since I'm so heavily involved and I'm really convicted into my new beliefs and my new views, I'm just thinking, if I'm forced to do something that I don't agree with, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, I don't think cops can do that. And so, yeah, and so I'm really rethinking becoming a cop. Because they sent me an email back, and I just got a reply to that to kind of, get my name in there. But I'm like, I don't know. And so now I'm really rethinking. When I left the sport, I wanted to leave the sport as a whole, but there was when my article came out about retiring, there was a person that left a comment, and they were like, thank you for being vulnerable, blah, blah, blah. And they said, but I think, I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was on the lines of, if you ever do this, please consider teaching and coaching, because I'm like, when I read that, I'm just like, nah, man, because I don't agree with the sport. It's not that I left the sport. I just don't agree with it. I don't feel that people should be in there harming each other, because it's so dangerous, and it's for money, and I just don't agree with it. But they said, please consider teaching it, because there's a lot of children and teens out there that needs to learn how to defend themselves. And I never looked at it at that angle before. I was just like, oh. And then when I think back, and I'm thinking back to my teenage years, because I started boxing when I was like 15, 16. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, like it really helped me through my teenage years. Like I never fought on the street at all, but just kind of knowing that I have that in my back pocket was a massive confidence boost for me. And just kind of all of the things that I developed when I was in the sport was super helpful. Like you learn discipline, you learn integrity, because because you have to keep yourself honest, and you learn respect, and you learn the reality of violence, and you just have such a better view of reality that I think not a lot of people have, but people who train in martial arts kind of have a better view on like on like actual violence. And that's what I had when I was a teenager, and that kept me like real grounded, And when I see fights on the street when I was young, I'm just like, man, that's stupid, bro. There is no glory on the streets, there's just nothing there for me. And so that all came from me learning how to box. And now that I've left, and I don't want anything to do with it, that comment that the person made really changed my mind. I'm thinking, maybe I do need to get back into it just for that, just to help the kids. And also, when I saw Richie's video not too long ago, Richie Hardcore.
Oh yes, I saw that one.
Yeah. So we put up a video, and there's this boy. I think there's a couple of boys, and they jumped basically, and I'm just thinking, it's just good for like teenagers to kind of carry themselves with a bit more confidence and just a bit more awareness. If they have like some kind of martial art in their back pocket, they'll be better. I'm not saying that they're gonna win every fight, or if they're gonna like not fight at all, but at least they'll have a better sense of it. They'll just have a little bit of sense. And even if you're getting bullied, if you fight back, the chances of you getting bullied again is very, very low, because bullies like to be bullied. Bullies like to bully. You know what I mean? They don't enjoy people fighting back. So even if you do fight back and you lose, it's like, I can't really pick on you the way I did before, because I know you're gonna stand your ground. And so now that that's happened, I'm like thinking, maybe I do get back into the boxing gym, but I don't know at what capacity that looks like right now. But yeah, I kind of am gonna probably venture back into that in some sense.
Yeah.
Man, so cool. No, I was just gonna say, it's so cool to hear you like almost thinking aloud about like, finding a way where you can channel your background and your skills and talents that you've built up over time, but in a way that honors your current philosophy, like, not compromising, but also not outright saying no, like really thinking about ways, to make it work for you. I just think that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Because when I saw that video of Richie's, I was thinking, is it? And like, when I'm really convicted into my beliefs of not being part of the sport at all, and like, in any capacity, I'm just thinking, is that just like, man, that's just totally selfish of me, just to accumulate what I gotten from the sport for like 20 years and just leave it like that. And I know that there's a lot of good that could come from boxing. And and so I'm just really open to it now. And wherever it takes me. But I definitely know I don't want to go back into the ring in any capacity. But yeah, but I'll at least try and pass on the skills into someone else, into some kid that could really use it and that needs it.
Oh, no, Togo. I'm glad you read my comment. Trying to take the credit for that. But I agree because you're right. Nothing goes to waste. There, Junior. Obviously, 20 years of boxing and training and professional boxing, all those things that you've learned. And you're right, I absolutely agree. The elements of boxing, it brings forth confidence, discipline, and young people who are, or people who in general, obviously most of them are like these young guys in the gym training. It brings forth, exudes a lot of obviously testosterone, but it brings something in terms of regulating those emotions. And they're able to control the anger, instead of reacting, they're responding in a positive sense. And I think you'll be well suited for that, Togo. I think because you're a smart. Well, first of all, you're a smart cookie. Obviously I don't know from above, but just having a talanoa of you, you're very smart, very eloquent, and obviously very teachable, but very open-minded. And so I can imagine that, and I can guarantee that whoever you teach in terms of self-defense, instead of jumping in the ring, because there's a lot of people in those gyms, and even in my son's gym, who don't want to jump in the ring, but they just do because they want to learn how to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be a great avenue if you're ever kind of looking down that path, Togo. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a different one for me because of the way that I approach the sport, and then so I thought everyone's on the same goal as me, because when I go to the boxing gym, I'm there to train. I'm there to be the best. And when I'm like, when I'm open to that other perspective, I'm just like, no, like, there's some people that are there that just to kind of have a sweat out and just to kind of learn the art without having to ever compete. And, that's a great thing, but that's something that was very, very foreign to me, because I've always just been a competitor in the sport. And, it's just just a great fresh perspective, because I'm like, because thinking back then, I'm super competitive, and I never viewed it that way at all. And yeah, it's very, very refreshing.
Yeah, man. But just even listening to you, you sound very philosophical. And so I have to ask you, Dogo, what are some of the things? What are some of the things you in terms of research? What are you reading? Who are the authors? Who are or are you reading and researching? Who are the people that you are kind of gleaning from and kind of getting some of these opening more so your thoughts and broadening your perspectives?
Yeah, I tried reading more, but reading's not my thing, man.
I feel you.
Only because it requires you to sit down and to just stay there and you just look at a book. I'm just like, man, because the way that I consume information, and my wife knows this, is that I have to be doing something. And whenever I'm doing something, either I'm at the gym or I'm running or I'm cleaning up, I always have something in my ear. And that's always a podcast. Either that, back in the day I listened to Joe Rogan, but lately it's been you guys. It's been just different podcasts. I went on to this philosophy podcast as well. I've done a few of them where it's just gone, or like one of them was just philosophy 101, where it just kind of gives you a debrief of like everything. And that was super, super cool, man. I got to have a little sprint session with like all these names, Plato and everything, and Marcus Aurelius and stuff, and it's super cool. And I'm on this other one now that's kind of going through it on a more what's the word, on the order that it was like established. Like I'm going through the first one, then I'm on the second dude, and then on the third dude, and it's super cool. It's super cool. And but in terms of who, I'm just more of like everyone now, because I do have a couple books, but like I said before, I'm just like, it's just super hard for me to just sit there and read, But but I think the most that I take from is Seneca, and a little bit of Aristotle, Plato, and Marcus Aurelius is a massive one. So yeah, it's just good things, and it's just interesting too because they've written so long ago, but it still plays out on like in this day and age, and that just really shows me that even though we're living in bloody 2024, nothing's new, nothing's new. Things have been done before. People have lived the way that I've lived before, gone through the same things that I've gone through before. Nothing's new, man. And so I think in that we can, with the knowledge of that, we can draw knowledge from anything, anyone, and I guess that's the way I kind of view my thoughts now. I'm not so single-minded. I can try to bend my thoughts into different perspectives, which was quite hard for me to do when I was religious. But now that I'm not, I'm really trying to challenge everything, and because I'm a competitor too, I really like the challenge of challenging my thoughts. And so and so I try to look at something that I don't agree with, and I'm just trying to make it make sense for me, just to challenge my own thoughts and just to help me grow, just as a human.
Man, that's really interesting. And speaking of, timeless wisdom through the ages, are there bits of wisdom that stick with you even to this day when you think about your parents or your grandparents? I'm just thinking of that family knowledge that gets passed down through generations. Is there anything that sticks with you to this day?
Dang. It's passed down. So my family weren't really big talkers, same as my dad. He never really told me what to do, but I always saw. I always learned off his example and the way that he carried himself and the way that he provided for us. And the one thing that the both of them showed was work. But I know that's the number one thing I think all of us can just relate to, that we all come from hard-working parents. And and that was a big thing for me, was that my parents were hard workers and they were both authentic. Both of them were very, very authentic, and they were themselves. My mum and my dad, my dad kind of lived this little secret life that I didn't know. But I love that for him because he didn't care what people thought. You know what I mean? He didn't really care, but he tried to keep up a front with us, which I respect him for, because we're his kids and stuff. But when I got older and when I got to see all these things that he kind of kept from us, it was nothing bad. I'm just saying that, okay, so he's just a little bit different than what I thought, but that's super cool because that's him. And that's the same as my mom as well. My mom was the same, just completely authentic. And that's what I learned from them, is just hard work and authenticity. And it goes a long way. And it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You just, if it makes you happy and it's not hurting anyone, then good, go for it.
Man, toko. Thanks for sharing that, toko. I'm just looking, because obviously you got a new outlook on life now, fresh perspective in terms of you're open-minded. Was there ever, obviously you're human. You're human. We all you have our good days and our bad days. I wonder if you could just share with us some of the times where, before this new outlook, where there were some dark times. I don't know if we can kind of delve into that. Were there some times or examples of instances where you just where you felt like life sucks right now, or this is just, I'm just going through some hardships?
While I was going through this journey, or
even before then, even before this journey, or even if it isn't during this journey, toko, you could share with us.
Not really. For me, I'm very like I had a very, very good upbringing, very good past, very, very privileged. You know, I feel I'm very privileged, and I feel like I'm also quite oblivious to things, and you know, and for me, it's really easy for me to remember the good parts, and I'm not really remembering the bad parts, which is quite ironic because me and my wife, we went through some hard times. I remember one year, and like for me, I didn't even remember them. I was just completely oblivious because I said, like, you know, I think someone asked us how things have been lately, and then I said, yes, we all good, bro. Like, you know, both of us are happy as. And then my, like, you know, wife just like, you know, turns to me, she was like, are you kidding me? I was just like, what? But yeah, it's just my lens on life is, I don't know, it's just really hard, really easy for me to extract all the good, and that's just all I see. Because, like, you know, I think it's maybe a subconscious thing, and I'm just really protective of my on my positive outlook on life. Is that just seems to be all I see. But that was before I went through this journey. When I went through this journey, I was face on with nihilism. I was face on with absurdism. I was face on with the questioning of my existence. Those were the dark times. Was it came after I left religion. And that was just, you know, I was expected to do that because, you know, once again, once you lose your foundations, you're on like shaky ground, or like, you know, you're not on the ground, you're just floating and you don't know where you're going. And when you're faced with like, oh, okay, since I don't believe in that, it's like, you know, where am I? You know, if there's no, and like, you know, I'm just talking about my own convictions here, but if there's no heaven, what's the point? If there's no afterlife, what's the point? And I'm going through this, but this never made me suicidal. It just made me like float in a really weird place because I didn't have a purpose. Because I left my sport, I left my religion, I had my family there, but I had no purpose for myself. And that just took a bit of time to work through. It was more just me talking things out with my therapist, talking things out with my wife, and trying to figure things out that way verbally. And it worked out. And I slowly came out of it. I found more of a purpose, and that purpose was just as simple as I said before, it was just to be good. You know, be good for good's sake. That's it. You know, nothing's promised in the end. Doesn't matter. Be good. Show some respect. That's it. And just try to leave this world, or try to leave this earth better off as you found it. But that was like, for me, that's the only real hard time that I went through. Even though I went through the loss of my father. Even as a member, as a believer, I accepted it and stuff, and it was very comforting when you're a believer because you believe that you're going to see him again. And right now, as a non-believer, I don't believe I'm going to see him again. But that's what makes it special. That's what makes the past special, because I don't get to relive this again. There is no proof I'm going to see him again. So everything is amplified. This moment is now amplified. I'm not going to, experience this again. I don't know if I'm going to live forever. Doesn't matter, man. It just makes everything more beautiful. And that was me coming out of the darkness. And yeah, but in terms of the darkness, I think those were my only, really dark times. There are dark times when you lose a fight, but it's only a fight, you know. But in dark times of life, yeah, I think those two are my hardest times that I can think of.
Man, you haven't received any backlash, Junior, in terms of what your philosophies are now in terms of all the things that we've been talking about tonight. You haven't, no one's challenged you, or no one's kind of rebutted you or refuted or anything like that. Did anyone come up to you, or family, or friends?
Gee, I'm 6'5", bro. No one's gonna come up to me, bro. No. Yeah, for sure. You know, one thing about when you're in the church, and when your beliefs align with all those around you, you're accepted. And when you don't, when you disagree with it, especially on the way that I did, because I did it. I put it out on my Facebook page, and I said, you know, I said this about the church, I said that about the church. And I got a massive, like, you know, I got tons of comments, but mostly from people that don't know me. So it was expected, and that was fine. But there's been a lot of people that, like, you know, disagree, and they voice it, and they say this and they say that, but that's fine because I don't know them, they don't know me, I don't care. Because there's that saying, you know, those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind, and that was true. You know, I still like you know, even though I heavily disagree with the church and religion as a whole, I still keep in touch with my mates, and they're heavily involved in the church, and we're all good. And that's just the same as you know, all of my family as well, including my aunties and stuff. You know, everyone's all good because they love me, and I love them, and yeah, man, it's all good. But yeah, but in terms of like people disagreeing with it, yeah, man, they're like, especially religion, because as I said before, it runs deep, and you can never leave with your dignity. But that's fine, because I'm liberated in myself, and I feel that this is the right thing for me and my family, and you know, I'm really convicted in those beliefs, and yeah, that's just me. It doesn't matter what they think.
Man, lover. Jeez.
Man, and just thinking about your purpose, and I love how simply you put it. You know, in terms of to be good for good's sake. What makes it hard for you to do that? Because there are obstacles no matter what we choose, whatever path we choose to follow or to carve for ourselves, there are always obstacles. So what makes it, or what obstacles do you find challenge you in your pursuit to do good for good's sake?
Like for me, nothing's in the way of me being good, because I can't expect anything from anything else. But in terms of how I see the world, sometimes it's very hard for me to really see it in the way that I used to believe. I kind of am like I'm very hard on my past self and how I viewed things, like certain things that aligned with my beliefs but not with me. And every time, like a perfect example is when Destiny's Church, when they go ahead and they paint over like the rainbow crossing, bro, stuff like that. I hate that, because you're offending real people who are just trying to live their life and trying to express their love, and it's all for, like, you know, it's all for their own beliefs, and I'm like that side of it is very, very hard to really hard for me to kind of turn away from, like to kind of not say anything about, because I understand it from both ends, because I was heavily religious before, and so I understand that worldview. And now that I'm out, I understand the harm, like the harm that my beliefs done, and it's really hard for me to kind of respect that worldview anymore, because it's the same things. I just don't respect it. I feel like if your religion is your religion, then it's your personal religion. It's when it becomes I think it's the more preachy evangelical stuff that I'm heavily against, because I don't agree with it and I see the harm in it, and I don't want real people experiencing that. And I think that's the only thing that I'm finding hard right now, is just that. But in terms of myself being good, I think that's it, because I think that's it. It's just my views on religion, which I'm really trying to change, because I know that's just a heavy part of life, and I'm not gonna, like, you can't convince people to leave their religion, you know what I mean, and you can't convince people otherwise. So when I see harmful things like that, I don't ever try to convince them, but I'm just sad. I'm just sad that they don't see the hurt. But I understand it. Yeah.
Man, so what would be your reaction, Dogo? Like, if you did see some, I don't know, if you might see some street preachers or Brian Tamaki and all those guys, they might be preaching or whatever, they might be painting something in the pedestrian or whatever. Like, it's just off the bat, just thinking, man, how would you react, or how would you respond if you were in that moment, if you saw that kind of happening or witnessing this in real time?
Yeah, well, if I see when I see people preaching, or just people that come up to me and they try to spread the good word, I always listen to them, because my brother done that. He served the mission. My friends have done that. They served the mission. I'm never going to turn them away, because the most of them are young, and the most of them are just doing what they believe to be good. And so I always sit down and I talk with them. I'm never harsh to them. I can't be. I can't be, because I can see myself doing that. I can see my brother doing that. I can see my friends doing that. So I'm never going to be rude to them. But if I see them painting painting over a rainbow, I'm just like, bro, what are you doing, man? You know what I mean? But like I don't have any problems with them personally, but I just have a problem with the doctrine of it.
Man, I don't know. It is so interesting, Dogo. It's just so interesting. I just want to pick your brain, because it's not often we have these kind of conversations, and I think you were the very first to flip it on its head. And obviously, myself, Jay, and Brad, obviously, very in terms of our faith, strong faith, and all that kind of stuff. But just hearing what you have to share. And I love it, because it's not threatening. It's non-threatening. You don't come, some people might go, oh, no, you're wrong. And we talk about relativism. What's true for you is not true for me. All that kind of stuff. But just the way you handle yourself, but also the way you explain it, and the way you carry yourself in terms of and your new journey thus far. But I'm interesting as well. Also, given the opportunity, when you go down this path, and you kind of realize, hey, maybe there's some other things I need to find out, or is there something else that's opening, or even more in terms of the horizons. Would you kind of like, not pride, but would you like be not proud enough to like, oh, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I could be in the wrong?
Always. I'm always open for that. Mostly because of my religion, because I don't know if this is true for all religions, but when you grow up in the Mormon faith, you don't have questions, or like you don't really have to figure things out, because it has all the answers. And so when some things popped up and I asked questions, I would get given an answer, but if the answer didn't really answer my question, I would just still accept it. And now I can't be like that anymore. And so I'm always open into different interpretations, different ideas, different perspectives. And that's the way I live, and that's the way that I'm going to live. Otherwise, I'm just going to be some prideful dude that just thinks he's right. And I don't think I'm right. I just think that no one knows. That's just all I know. In terms of conviction, people can have their personal convictions, but it can't be proven. I can't prove you. If if someone believes that a leprechaun is real, then like I feel like it's not, because it's not been proven. It can't be proved there, or like it can't be unproven. You like, you know what I mean? I can't just turn my back into different beliefs because I don't understand it. Only when I can fully accept. I feel like I need to be open to everything, and like I said before, like if it's something that's hard for me to accept, or if it's like really challenging on the mind, that's what I welcome, because I'm really on this journey of like self-development, and the mind, like my mind for me is just, it's something that I hold dear and something that I'm very, very proud of, and challenging it is always it's always a great, exciting thing for me, you know what I mean? No, I love it, man. I love it. So if anything comes up down the line that challenges my perspective right now, I am always open to it. Yeah.
Man, well said, Doko. Well said. Man.
And just thinking, and I'm sort of just leaning on some of your purpose. And one of the interesting things I had read was that you and your wife are quite, you're big advocates for ASD, kids who have ASD. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and why that's so important to you?
Yeah, sure. Autism spectrum disorder. So my son Ezra was diagnosed when he was 3, but before that he was showing signs of autism. I just didn't know what autism was. I thought that I didn't know. But once I learned what it was, I was just like, oh, okay, so that guy in my class definitely was autistic. Okay, so yeah. But when he was younger, when my son was younger, we noticed that he didn't look us in the eye, and that he would always like turn away. And that's a sign of autism, because what we knew before, because we kind of helped in the raising of our nephew Mason, and which is my wife's sister's baby. We always had him at our house and stuff, and so him and my son isn't that far apart in terms of age, and so we had a massive involvement with his upbringing, and so we remember him holding him as a baby, and remember our nephew watching our eyes, watching our mouth, and they observe a lot through their senses. And when my son came, we noticed that he wasn't doing that, and so from there I knew that he was going to learn differently. I just didn't know what it was, because he didn't really take information that way, the way that typical babies do. I knew that he was going to learn different. But when he was 3, when he got the diagnosis, that was when it kind of came clear, and we learned about it, and things made sense. I was just like, oh, okay. And the beautiful thing is that it's a spectrum, and that no two people on the spectrum are the same. And so autism looks different for everyone. And at end, for us, for there might be similarities between different kids, but it'll never be 100% the same. And and this journey has been awesome, because it just really changes your lens as a parent, because now you have a lot of patience for everyone else now, because our son is different and he sees the world differently, and we have more patience for that. And so when we see kids out on the street or just in the mall or something, and they are not I don't know, maybe they're not listening, or maybe they're just kind of experiencing a bit of sensory overload because there's too much lights, or it's too noisy or something, and they're really acting out, or they're just pulling away. I can really have a lot of patience for that, because I see it. Whereas maybe if I didn't go through this, I would think that they're just a naughty kid, But going through this has been massive learnings, and just really made us better as people, because it broadens our horizons and our visions on people.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. And I imagine there have been lots of discussions with you and your wife in terms of finding common ground, because I imagine it takes some adjusting in terms of understanding the way that they see the world, but then also having to adapt not only yourself, but then being on the same page with your wife in terms of how you're going to support your child. And then how was that in terms of with your other children and balancing that?
Yeah, that was, in terms of me and my wife, we've always been great on saying that, or maybe it's just me being oblivious again. I think there was a time when, when you first got diagnosed, and we would kind of be impatient with each other, because maybe one of us lost our patience with him when we shouldn't, and the other one would kind of chastise the other for not being as patient as they should have been. But right now, things are sweet. Things are sweet between us and our son and stuff. But in terms of the family dynamic, things have really changed. But it changed when I watched this movie called Wonder, and it's about this kid who has a physical disability, and he wears that
Astronaut
helmet. And that one's such a beautiful movie because it speaks about the dynamics of a family with a child with special needs, and it really plays it to a T, because the feelings that the parents felt when their son is growing up and he's going to kindy and he's different, and when he goes to school and you really want him just to have a friend, and it's super every single milestone is just a massive thing for parents. But the thing that I picked up most was the sister's story. So he's got an older sister, and it speaks about her life and how she was kind of neglected in terms of attention from the parents. And that was something that I was like, ooh, I kind of do that, because my son requires a lot of attention, but my daughter kind of gets shortchanged because all the patience goes to him, and we don't really have that kind of patience for her because she's not on the spectrum, so she knows better. So the patience isn't as we're not so generous in terms of our patience with her, forgetting that she's a child as well. And so watching that movie really, really changed the way that I approach everyone in my family. And it's been great. It's been a great journey, because even our daughter, the one closest age to Ezra, she's really good with Ezra, and she's super patient with him, but she's a typical child as well. She's just that's just her brother. She loves her. Oh, she loves him, and she hates him because that's just siblings in general, you know what I mean? And then they're both 10 and 8, so it's both of them, they're all good with each other every now and then, and they hate each other every now and then. So so it's been beautiful to see. But this journey, as parents with an autistic child, has been very, very beautiful, and that's something that most parents don't really experience. Either they're too for whatever reason, for some reason, some people are a bit more in denial, or they don't accept the diagnosis, or they accept it and they hide their child, or they just or they don't do the study or something. But but just for whatever whatever reason that the other parents have, I just for me and my wife, going on this journey together has been nothing but it's been a little bit challenging, but it's been great, man. It's been great. So I just really encourage all the parents with different children to really just embrace it and try to do the best for them. Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, it's hard out, man. Yeah, I totally agree in terms of embracing it, because I got a daughter who's got Down syndrome, and so yeah, I totally agree. And I've seen the different aspects in terms of parents who don't embrace it, who are a bit whakama, and it's hard for them to swallow that. Oh, my child has a disability, and I see it. I see the damage that it does, not only for that parent but also for that child. And so I love it. You say you embrace it, and so just going back to Ezra, your son. And often, I know a lot of children throughout the spectrum or with autism, they have some sort of special gift or some sort of genius-like gift. What's Ezra's? If you know.
Well, because that's another thing as well, is the because autism, even though it's really socially awkward, that's in like, you know, when you really chop it down, it really has a massive thing to. Like the way they act is mostly because of their sensory, you know, because the way that they see the world or they really take in the world is very, very different. And I know that there's this thing where, like, you know, because when I got the diagnosis, one of my friends say, you know, like, yeah, like, you know, he is autistic, but he's gonna be a genius at something. That's great, but that's I feel that's putting too much pressure onto something. And even if he doesn't show genius level at, like, you know, anything, I just feel that you're just setting him up for failure. Oh well, I feel like you're setting them up for failure, because the same is true for everyone. Everyone's got something that they are just talented at, or they're very, very skilled at in terms of, like, you know, those around them. And that's true for everyone, but it really, really gets pushed on the autistic community because they see movies like Rain Man, and they see, like, you know, different movies where there's a socially awkward person, but like, you know, but for some reason he's a genius at something. I just want to say, like, you know, like, yeah, that is true for some people in the spectrum, where they just are just extra what's the word, extra like smart, and, like, you know, and they really develop them into one area. But that's true for everyone, you know, not just for the autistic community. And I would just say, just maybe, like, try not to put those pressures on your kid or on yourself, because if they just live a normal life like the way that I'm probably going to do in the future, it kind of sets yourself up for fail, because you're expecting this genius kid, and then, like, you know, you just get this really lovely boy that's just, you know, that's just kind of living a normal life, which is great. But from the perspective from a parent that kind of expected some like genius kid, the parent with that kind of worldview, his kind of happiness is shattered because he set his bar up way too high. And so for me, I'm just like, yeah, man, he could be talented and whatever, but it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? And, like, if he shows talent in something, I'm going to try and develop it, but that, like, expectation isn't there. But I know that is, like, a massive thing in the community, because I didn't know that my sister was on the spectrum until I kind of learned more about it. And then I was like, oh yeah, man, that's kind of like my sister, because something with her is that she's really good with dates. And she's like, you know, when you for some reason she'll just always remember a time in the past, and she remembers, like, the day and the year and stuff, and she's, like, really good with that, and that's just, like, super funny. But I know that that's super common in the community. But like, you know, in terms of his talent, I don't know. Right now, he's really good at making me laugh.
He's a comedian.
He's funny, yes, because he's like non-verbal as well, and for some reason, like, and because he's like non-verbal, so we say non-verbal, but he is talking in terms of he likes to repeat, or he's kind of uses different phrases that he's heard before to kind of communicate what he wants. So he's not talking the way that I am, or, like, you know, he's not making conversation. It's kind of like the way Bumblebee on
I
Transformers.
was literally thinking of
like
Bumblebee.
that.
That's what
Kinda
came to
like
mind.
that.
Damn.
Yeah. Kind of like that. So, he'll pick up something from like a Disney movie, and if he kind of needs it, he will use that to like kind of communicate. Not in the same way that Bumblebee does it, like how he does it perfectly, but he kind of uses that. And so what he does, he just always repeats back words that he kind of hears on movies, and that to me is bloody hilarious for some reason. See, I've got a really simple sense of humor, and like and for me, that's just like that just makes me laugh all the time, and he knows it too. So he always like repeats words, man, and it makes me laugh, and it makes him laugh, and yeah, both of us are having a good laugh, while the girls in our family are just staring at us.
Case, man. Props to your son, Togo. And good point as well. And I think it's very, very good advice in terms of, because some people, if they have a child with autism, they think, oh, okay, I'm expecting this genius. So somewhere down the line, something's going to happen. But good advice. I like that. Don't expect that. Just treat them as as your child, and just love on them, and embrace the fact that they're your child. But what would you say to those parents? Those parents who are like, oh, they're finding it hard or in denial, and they just can't bear the fact that their child has a disability. What you could say to those parents who may have a child with autism? A word of advice.
Just the same thing I said before. Just like take your time. Take your time to kind of go through the things that you feel, because I know it's not everyone's not everyone takes the diagnosis well, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you're trying to help your child, and that should be the number one priority. But whenever you come to their conclusion, really embrace it, help your child, and just basically that. Love them. Love who they are. Don't try and reverse the diagnosis. For some reason, I think people do try and do that, and that's not really embracing who they are. But just embrace who they are. Love them. I think that's it, man. It's just love, man. You just gotta love your children, regardless of anything, really.
I know.
And I think some of that, like, there's so much in there that's relevant, just even as a parent. Like, already you've made me question, like, the way I parent my daughter. Like, my oldest is 5, just turned 5. She comes to school with me every day, and I'm always like pushing her, like, let's do your homework every day. Okay, pull out your homework. I'll make some homework up for you on top of the homework she's got. And just as you were talking, I was like, why am I pushing her so hard? Like, what? At the end of the day, what do I want her to get out of this exchange? And I don't know what it is yet, but you've at least raised the question, and that's something that I'll take with me after this, and really just think about being more purposeful and like more transparent about the things that I want for my children, and why am I projecting the things that I want onto them, and is it taking away some of their joy as a child and not letting them experience. I don't know. I think there's sometimes as parents we don't question. I mean, we question ourselves sometimes, but we don't question why we do things thoroughly enough sometimes. So I just, honestly, thanks for sharing some of your thoughts on that. And just thinking about, you had mentioned the community, the ASD community. Like, it seems like there's some real strength that comes from that. Like, what are some of the other joys that come from just being part of that community? Because I think that's one of the strengths in being able to accept, is to know that you're not alone, that there are people out there that have the knowledge, that they're ready to share, in the same sense that, you have so much knowledge that only you've gained over time that you can share. So what are some of the other joys and strengths that people can look forward to in terms of joining our community when it comes to understanding something like ASD?
Yeah, I think people need to try and learn it as much as they can, because and whatever that looks like to you is the answer. Like, for me, I went straight into the book straight away, straight into the book, straight into YouTube, and just trying to learn everything. And I suggest everyone to basically do the same. Like whatever works for them works for them. For me, I'm a bit of a I'm a bit of a loner, to be completely honest. In terms of like I do a lot of things alone, and I didn't really need a community. For me, I needed me and my wife and stuff. But I know some people find it hard, and that's not their buzz, and they need more other testosterone around them or just other women around them to kind of let those feelings out and try to learn more. And being a part of community and being a part of a autistic community, like I'm part of ASD Dads, who was doing a great job of trying to help parents process and go through this beautiful life with their child. And we've seen, we've seen fathers come and they are completely closed off, but they're there. You know what I mean? So we know that they're really finding it hard, but they're there and they're like trying to learn more, and they're trying to be better for their son or their daughter. And that's just really, really good to see. And I know that this type of community, like the more like whatever helps you help your child, that's the answer. Maybe it's joining a ASD dads community the way that I did. Maybe it's just going on like walks just to kind of reconnect with the earth and just to really take some time out away from your kid and the chaos and everything. Maybe it's turning to books, but I think just whatever will help. But in terms of the ASD community, I feel that most people really respond well to that, and they like to be around people who understand them. And I guess that's that's just a great thing in life, right? People just want to be understood, and people love it when they feel heard, and they love a listening ear and love to know that they're not alone in this journey. And a community like that, a community like an autistic community, can really provide that for the parents and the kids.
Oh, I love what you said. You said they like to be understood. People like to be understood. And it's the same thing. Obviously, we've talked about things that people kind of steer away from, like in terms of politics, religion, and obviously with your son with autism. And so, but it is about understanding one another. And I love that. I love that your convictions, your newfound belief, and your newfound journey as well. And so, Dogo, I wish you all the best. It's been an absolute privilege, absolute pleasure to hear you, and to go somewhere a little bit different, and in fact, very different, And so I appreciate that. And I just pray. I just hope that, in terms of your newfound journey, that you find the things that you are looking for and the answers. And I love that you question everything, you challenge everything. You obviously challenged me tonight, and which is very, very refreshing. But also at the same time as well, Dogo, all the best with your endeavors, all the best with your family and your children. And I wish you well, and wish you an amazing newfound journey as well, Dogo. So, maro lava so far.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, bro, it's been real different. Like, just even like the angle, because it's just you being you, but just different to hear. It's just a perspective I'm not used to hearing. And I, like, in some ways, it was like partly uncomfortable because I've never heard it. It's like brand new perspective. But in another sense, it was like, how cool was that? Like, to hear something new for the first time for myself. And so, just a couple of final questions. One of the things that I'd seen, I think that you'd said before, was that adversity defines true character. And so what does your adversity say about your character?
Resilience. When I was going through what I was going through, in terms of these feelings that didn't match up with who I thought I was, in terms of I'm a boxer, I'm a Mormon, I do this, I believe in that. When I didn't, when my being didn't align with that anymore, it was hard for me to accept. I didn't want to accept that. I didn't want to believe that my foundations weren't me anymore. But I feel that was me just being a drop nuts and just not accepting it. But that was me, and so I had to just, I just had to pick up my balls and just feel like, hey, this isn't me anymore, man. Like, especially with the beliefs, I had to let that go. With the boxing and the money that it gave me, I had to let that go, and I had to be comfortable with myself. And I'm more in line with myself now, and that's what I'm very, very proud about. And I felt like I'm just really, really in a good place. I'm in a very good place because I'm just really, really authentic now. You like know what I mean? Before coming here, I was very unsure if I wanted to be open, only because I know that I'm surrounded by believers, and I know that I don't agree with it. And so I was just like, this is gonna be, I don't know if I'm gonna go there. I don't know. But every time you guys start your podcast, nothing's off the table. I'm just like, do it, man. And like, you know, and I know throughout all the podcasts that I listen to, your guys' ones, you know, you guys are so welcoming, you guys are so open. And so I was very comfortable saying that. And thank you for the platform that you guys have and for the open discussions that you guys welcome. And that's been great, bro. It's been awesome, bro. Thanks for that.
That's so cool. Thanks so much for sharing. And resilience definitely comes through in what you've shared with us today. And just really interesting. Like you'd mentioned before, that the two biggest lessons you learned from your parents was hard work and being authentic. And then thinking about your adversity, you've learned resilience. And so my very final question is that when you think about the people that your children will grow up to be, if you could speak to them in the future, you have the lessons from your parents, you have the lesson through your own adversity. What lesson would you love to share with them in the future? That long after you're gone, they will hold on to this piece of wisdom. What would that be?
Daddy loves you. That's it. Daddy loves you. That's all. Because, I think they know. I know what I want to do. They know what they want to do. Have the courage to do it. Regardless what you do, Daddy loves you. That's it.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Jeez, Dogo. I tell you what, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to come up and share your viewpoints and your newfound beliefs. It is, and I can guarantee you now, Dogo. And you're gonna get some people go, oh, conspiracy theorist, out the gate. He's out the gate. He's going to hell. He's going to hell. He's going to do that rabbit hole, all that kind of stuff. But I tell you what, Uzo, it takes a lot of courage, and I commend that, and I love it that you stand on your convictions once again. And like I said before, and you mentioned it, understanding. It's important for us to understand each other and to listen to other people's point of views. And like you said, and what we always say, Jay and Brad and Kiona and Charles, nothing's off the table. It is about navigating fresh perspectives. And tonight has been a fresh perspective, and I can guarantee the viewers and the listeners who are listening, because you may very well have made people think, oh man, maybe, just maybe, this is about connecting those dots. And Mahalo lava doko, thank you very much. But we do have a gift for you. And this is on behalf of the office. You know this. We always do a bit of a caricature, a cartoon of our guest. And look, this is for you on behalf of the Mandate team. This is for you, Dogo. Mahalo lava.
Oh shit! Bro, you are super talented, man. Holy heck,
man.
bro.
Thank you, Dogo, man. Appreciate it. But Dogo, is there anyone? Before we finish off, is there anyone that you think that would be ideal to come on the podcast, or be perfect to come on the podcast?
Man, I've been trying to think of what to say because I listen to your podcast a lot. I'm just like, okay, I need to come up with an answer, but I'm just like, I don't know. Oh man, there's so many. Anyone from CKV. I always recommend Beulah, but that guy's already been on here like 2 times now. He's so far out. Tell you what, if you guys can get, so there's two people that have helped me mentally with my boxing journey and my mental fortitude and my resilience. One, his name is David Neath. He's a mental performance coach. Great guy. Beautiful speaker too. The other one's Dave Wood. He's a breathing coach as well, but he has helped me massively with the big fights and learning how to like drain out the crowd and stuff, and learning how to accept everything that goes on with your emotions and stuff. He's a very good guy to talk to. Dave Wood, Dave Neath, both of them. If you can somehow get them.
Oh man, I can get them, man. Yeah. Be awesome. Dave Neath and Dave Wood.
Yep.
Oh man, thanks, Dogo. But Dogo, we always give the last words to our guest. Any words of encouragement or any words of inspiration?
Oh man. I don't know. Perhaps it was just what I said before, just be good for good's sake.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, God bless.
Oh man, how funny would that have been?
Awesome, man. Appreciate it, man. Please don't forget to subscribe. Look forward to your well thought out comments. And as usual, Jamin,
refine,
unlock,
and take charge.
Mandate.